Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Christine Escobar, and I'm one of the senior editors over here at Hospitality Technology Magazine. And I'm thrilled to have Harman Narula, co-founder and CEO over at Canary Technologies, with me today. Welcome, Harman.
Thanks so much for having me, Michael. It's very nice to be here.
I'd love to give you a minute to just kind of introduce yourself and Canary Technologies to our HT audience before we start.
Yeah, happy to do so. As you mentioned, my name is Harman Singh Narula. I am one of the founders and CEO here at Canary Technologies. We are a leader in what's kind of considered the agentic AI guest management and staff operation system for hotels globally. We power millions of automated guest touch points and hotel workflows via our AI platform. We service, every type of hotel, including, some of the largest brands in the world. We work with more than 20,000 hotels in more than 100 different countries, with folks like, Marriott and Wyndham and Four Seasons and a host of others as well. We've been recognized as one of the fastest growing hotel technology companies by folks like Deloitte, and Fast Company, and I'm excited to be here. So thanks for
Oh,
having me.
of course, of course. We're so glad that you could join us today. And we really wanted to chat with you because as you mentioned, we know that Canary works with hotels of all sizes, including some of the world's largest hotel brands. And so, from that vantage point, what technology trends are you seeing that are really having the biggest impact on hospitality right now?
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of folks probably have a sense of what the answer is here or what I'm going to say, but AI is impacting everything that we do, both, obviously within the hospitality industry as well as in every other vertical and every other aspect of life as well right now.
Hmm.
So, we have been seeing that shift occurring in the industry really significantly. And I think a lot of the big change here has been that the industry has been moving from kind of this phase of exploration and experimentation around AI, to just kind of like execution. Like hotels are really starting to see the impact of what the experimentation and exploration that they've been doing over the past, year to 2 years.
Hmm.
We recently released this report that was like, AI and hospitality report. And, unsurprisingly, the majority of hoteliers are saying that, they are utilizing AI in their day-to-day operations today. But I think more importantly, I think it was, nearly two-thirds of hotels are saying that the AI work that they've been doing and deploying within their hotels is they've started to see significant time savings on property,
Hmm.
for their team members, and they've also started to see increased guest satisfaction, because it's allowing them to now focus on kind of the highest value hospitality needs. And so I think that's kind of that's the biggest trend that we're seeing, and kind of this shift towards agentic AI.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, Canary has been really at the forefront of building and deploying AI solutions for hospitality. So, how have you seen hospitality AI kind of evolve from these early stages into the present day and beyond?
Every phase of technology, as the technology matures, hospitality also, adopts, and they kind of see the impact that it's actually having for their day-to-day operations. And so there's been this big shift. I think, generative AI was kind of very impactful in terms of what hotels were able to do, and that's kind of shifted towards more kind of agentic AI. And,
Yeah.
you know, the very clear being, generative AI was more focused on like context, and you could answer questions, for instance, whereas agentic is you can actually complete and execute full end-to-end workflows. And so hoteliers are definitely seeing this evolution and kind of seeing the impact that it's being able to have on their properties, and we are hearing it day in and day out because it's a lot of the solutions that we are delivering to our clients and our partners that we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And I know for a fact that Canary has really been involved with some of the largest AI deployments in hospitality. What have you learned personally from rolling AI out at this large scale?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a number of things that we've seen, and there's been a few of those deployments that some of the brands have talked about publicly. Jeff Bellotti over at Wyndham talked about it on his recent earnings call, and some of the numbers that their owners are actually seeing. And that was one of the large deployments that we did in AI and hospitality. And I think what we're the biggest learnings that we have seen is that, like, the rate of adoption amongst owners and operators for this technology
Hmm.
is significantly steeper than any of the technology that we've seen in the past, right? So like things like some of the other solutions that we've also brought to market and that we we're the largest provider of in like the guest experience space, like a lot of the agentic work on top of the workflows on top of that, hoteliers and operators are actually adopting at an even quicker speed because they're just seeing how drastically that can impact their operations. So that's probably like one of the big learnings. I think the other piece is like, like change management matters, right? And so like, especially when you're delivering and deploying to a large enterprise, you do need to think about like, how do you deploy? How do you train? How do you onboard? How do you implement? How do you support? Because I think it's easy for folks to get really excited just by like cool new technology. But the execution phase of that and actually being able to deploy and then do the change management around that is really important. And that's obviously been a big learning as we've done these large scale deployments as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned that because I feel like just over the last couple months, I have been reading more and more studies and surveys that have come out that have been talking about how important it is to train our people who are on property on how to use AI properly. And that when we're not training them, then we end up, almost setting the hotels up for failure. That it's
Yeah,
really,
yeah, I think like that harness that we're providing that hoteliers are providing team members as they're doing deployment. I think that's in it, frankly, in like any industry in any vertical, like
of course.
as new technology is being deployed, like you have to be mindful about kind of the harness that you're providing, the team members that are going to be utilizing and interacting on a day-to-day basis. I will say with a lot of the agentic solution, it's probably quicker and it's actually even like less of a harness that's needed. But when you have what the nuances that the hotel industry has where it's owners with multi-units, different brand standards, different owners, different operators, etc. Like you
Mhm.
need to do the right amount of kind of implementation and change management to ensure that you're driving adoption across the entire portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Okay, another question that I wanted to talk to you about is guest management systems. We know that those have really been a core part of the hotel tech stack. And of course, Canary is widely recognized for defining the category. Do you see AI following a similar adoption curve?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we are. It's tough to say that we are we've defined the category, but I appreciate it. It's a nice thing to say. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a category that we have been kind of one of the pioneers and kind of saw that that was increasingly becoming more and more critical as a part of the hotel technology stack. I do think it's great to see, it's a core part of what hoteliers find is a type of technology that they either need to deliver to their owners or owners themselves know that they need to deliver for their guests.
Hmm.
Um, we have seen kind of this adoption curve really be take off, and you can continue to see kind of just as a traveler
Hmm.
the importance that hotels are placing on the digital guest interaction, right? Like you can't really fast forward 12, 24, 18 months, 36 months from now and not imagine certain capabilities in the palm of every guest's hands, right? It's almost surprising when you don't have some of those capabilities at properties
Yeah.
at times now. When it comes to AI, I think like the curve we've seen, as I was kind of mentioning just now, like we've seen that curve be just like even steeper. That slope is even steeper, and that like the adoption is going even quicker than it did for guest management. The one thing I'll call out though is there is kind of layers to this, right? So it's like you do have to just like in order to kind of, you know, do the most extensive type of rollouts for guest experience, for instance, there was this big shift to all your infrastructure kind of going to cloud. And
Hmm.
then there was this new layer that emerged on top of that with kind of guest experience and guest management systems that was enabled by the fact that hotels had shifted to cloud environments and you could access certain pieces of data and so forth because of that. I think similarly with AI, it's sitting on top of kind of your infrastructure and systems. And so like when you have, for instance, a guest experience system that's
Hmm.
interacting with your guests, then embedding and launching agentic solutions on top of that, is much more straightforward and frictionless and kind of seamless to be able to actually do that. And so it does layer. And so I think the adoption that we're seeing on like agentic solutions is even quicker. But that's because it's layering on top of a lot of the work that hoteliers have been doing over the last, like decade.
Yeah, they've had a solid foundation to now build upon so that they can take off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, excellent. All right, so now for hotel leaders that are maybe just starting out on building their AI strategy today, can you give us some pointers on like where they should begin?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the one big thing to think about here is that like there's a lot of quick wins that you can get off the board where you're kind of like, some crawl, walk, run type mentality where it's like you don't have to go 0 to 100 overnight, right? Like
Mhm.
for folks that are still, their heads might be spinning a little bit. I'm like, oh, there's like all these different things that I could be doing. Should I launch, our new front desk agent? Should I launch, certain types of voice or messaging, etc.? Like you can start smaller. You can start and say like, hey, I have this need. Like I have, X number, or my staff spends a ton of time on certain types of guest requests. So maybe there's, an AI voice solution and AI messaging that might be a good place for you to start. And you can
Mhm.
start to automate a lot of those more simpler workflows, perhaps. And then you can start to kind of like build from there, right? And I think strong partners in the market can help you kind of walk through that as opposed to saying like, hey, you have to do everything from the get-go and you have to turn your hotel from like 0 to 100 when it
Yeah.
comes to utilizing AI solutions. I think dipping your toe and starting to utilize solutions if you haven't started already is really critical because then you'll also start to see the impact. And then when you're getting the ROI on those earlier solutions, you can then use that to then say, hey, let's go a level deeper. Let's double click. What else can I be doing to kind of automate some of the workflows that I have on property?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's a common sense approach, but I think you're very right in saying that a lot of hoteliers out there, I think they get overwhelmed and they feel like, oh, I have to be doing everything right now, and that's just not true. You can pick and choose and start slow.
I think this is a lot of also, obviously I'm very biased, but like I think this is a lot of the big value on like working with hospitality specific players, right? Because they know the industry, they know the specific workflows that you're actually trying to solve.
Hmm.
And they can also think very operationally with you, right? Whereas I think sometimes partners will come in and it'll be kind of experimental in terms of what value they're actually able to bring to your property. Whereas like, when you work with somebody that kind of knows the industry, has done this for other hotels, they can like think very operationally for you and say, hey, let's start here. Let's kind of build from here and let you see the impact kind of layer by layer.
Absolutely. Okay, excellent. Well, Harmon, little birdie told me that you're going to be exhibiting at a pretty big trade show coming up here. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Which hopefully we'll see you at Michael. We'll be at High Tech. I think later this month or in just a couple of weeks. So we'd love for folks to stop by. We're happy to chat all about kind of the different agentic solutions that we have for hoteliers, the deployments that we've done across tens of thousands of hotels across the globe. And so please stop by the Canary booth, and we'd love to chat with you.
Absolutely. You know I'll be there. I'm going to be talking to your team to set up an appointment with you.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much, Harmon. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you today, and I can't wait to see you in just a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me.